In the Weather Center, what's the latest?
Well, and I'll tell you this, Tim, the fact that we already have trees down and power lines down is not a good sign because, at least with respect to our area, the worst of the storm is not until this afternoon into this evening. That's where we'll have a much larger area of those higher winds in that 50 to 60 mile per hour range, along with a lot of heavy rain. And that is when we're going to start to see more of that widespread nature. So the fact that Bradenton was able to get that tree out of the way this morning, shortly after it came down and blocked a road, I would imagine with more trees down, more power lines down, it's going to be a much slower response. And that's when we're going to have a bit of a problem heading into tonight and ultimately for tomorrow when things eventually clear out. But we're looking here at Clystra 9. Here is, of course, the center of Hurricane Ian. What I'm noticing here over the last 30 minutes or so has been an enhancement of some lightning in the eye wall. And Mike Clay and I were discussing this earlier this morning, that when you have the lightning in the eye wall like this, it is just a sign that conditions are very present for strengthening in this here. Strong updrafts likely lead to that. We have a cold front out to the west. This looks a lot like Hurricane Wilma from 2005, just a little bit farther north. You may recall Wilma came in farther south and then zipped across South Florida. This one is going to be making a more of a northeast push across the state. It'll weaken quickly, kind of getting absorbed by a front, but we're going to have a lot of rain and those strong winds on the northeast side. And then the northwest side where we are is also going to have some strong wind that will persist. So it's not like a quick wind gust to 50 or 60 miles per hour with a summertime storm. It is a constant from the same direction, strong wind, and that is why you get those trees to come down. If trees in your area, for example, haven't been properly taken care of and they're more weighted on one side, that can easily come down, and those are the kinds of things that we're going to see. 56 mile per hour gust in St. Pete, the same in Bradenton. Sustained winds at 41 in St. Pete. Now wind gusts just about everywhere over 30 from Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Polk County southward. Still not quite there in our northern areas. You got a little bit of time before you get into those tropical storm force winds. So when we look at the wind gust forecast here we go a couple of hours from now. We'll start seeing those 30s and 40s farther north, 40s, 50s, 60s, even in the 70s for wind gusts. You were listening to the emergency manager out of Manatee County talk about that along the coast there. So this is not something that you can just be out and about, and these are very strong winds. Again, not hurricane force sustained, but certainly strong enough with this high-end tropical storm that we're going to be contending with, even up to hurricane force gusts in some spots. And here we can see 60 to 80 mile an hour gusts through the late afternoon as the center of Ian makes its way through the interior, ultimately weakens, but that is where and when we'll be looking for more of these strong winds from the northeast continuing, along with some very heavy rain that will just add up and add up and add up between now and tomorrow morning. So we're going to have the flooding concerns and the wind damage concerns. Thankfully, if there is a silver lining for at least our area, we're going to avoid the major hurricane scenario. Not the case down to our south. Of course, we are feeling for those folks that are down around the Fort Myers and Punta Gorda area, Charlotte Harbor, that have seen this kind of thing before, and they're going to see it again in the next few hours. We'll talk much more about this coming up in just a few minutes.